It's been almost a year since I made my first GodHusk video, and it still kind of blows my mind the support it's gotten. Though, considering how great the world setting, characters, and style of that book is, it also feels like it was more a gem that people hadn't seen yet. It was an amazing introduction to game lore books for me as a genre, that book. Also seeing game and art lovers alike joining forces to appreciate a work like GodHusk was something really special to see. As for the lore of it, seeing other creators covering it like Dogma, who I seriously recommend if you haven't seen it already, I'm sure you have, who have done demonically deep dives into it, covering every page with a fine-toothed comb. So, with all that said, after my last GodHusk video, I felt like I'd covered as much as I could about it, at least for my own abilities, without entering the realm of complete fabrication about its story or subject material. And since then, I've done a lot of different lore books, video styles, and I like to think improved my audio mixing. Thank God for that. Apologies to everyone. So, with the year anniversary of GodHusk vid coming up, I thought maybe I'd equipped all 5 angel parts again and reignite an old creation. But as the pod door hissed, sealing shut behind me, I wondered more and more about the works that helped create GodHusk, that shaped the book, the style, the feeling, the story, themes, and characters. Was there something I'd overlooked? Something completely unknown? We all concede the Dark Souls inspirations, the Baroque, of course. But was there some core celestial inspiration our lore lord and savior Plastibu had when crafting this guide on a journey into emptiness and purpose? It turns out there might be. In 1992, a Japanese RPG Mech exclusive would be released, set in a retro-futuristic world of sci-fi Edo, Japan. You play as a samurai apprentice who must solve a mystery relating to your father and a group of unknown ninjas utilizing an advanced civilization's mech technology. The game was praised for its art, but beyond that, potentially due to its Mac-only, Japanese-only release, it also silently fell into obscurity, as far as I can tell, but not enough to prevent a sequel. Samurai Mech 2 Heaven saw you play as a bounty hunter in an archipelago colony at the edge of the universe. This game, much like its original, is extremely obscure and difficult to find. Researching for this video, I can tell you it has been very difficult to find much on either game, though some amazing people have preserved it online against all odds, with most of the core resources being in Japanese. I had no idea this game even existed, to be honest, but when I briefly spoke with Plastibu a while ago, he mentioned Samurai Mech 2 as a big influence, and so I knew I had to check it out for myself. Using my most advanced deductive abilities, and after constant frustrations with typing in Samurai Mech, only to get search results for Ninjago Legos, which, sure, were not what I'm looking for, I finally found it. An old Mac emulator and a digital version of Samurai Mech 2 Heaven. But it didn't work. I spent hours just trying to figure it out, and I just couldn't do it. I really, really tried. I don't know how else to tell you guys. I really gave it hell or leather. I was so close to getting the game running after an insurmountable amount of troubleshooting, tutorial videos, and I just couldn't get it to go. A user by the name of Noel has a full playthrough of the game. So this video is going to be using recorded gameplay footage by them and Mr. Burns' obscure game tester. Please check them out, links in the description. So including their footage, screenshots, images, website archives, and documents I could find, I want to look through and see the inspirational elements of that game and its design choices, and how they informed GodHusk. To note, I tried using some translation software, and I don't think it was 100% accurate most of the time, so Japanese viewers in particular, I apologize. A lot of these translations will most likely be skewed, but we work with what we've got, and we can still gain some important notes from these translations about the game. So, where to begin? Well, the name of the game already gives us some clear inspirations for GodHusk's story. Samurai Mech 2 Heaven. The depiction of angels and rapture in the rapture pathway, talks of gods like Obek, all relate to an idea of heaven. A Christian, Catholic, Western idea of heaven. In Shinto and Japanese mythology, heaven is an abode of the gods, known as the Plane of High Heaven, or Takamagahara. This place is often depicted as floating in the sky, believed to be connected to Earth by a floating bridge of heaven. Both the idea of something floating in the air, a physical space for heaven to reach, and literal outer space itself are shared between both Samurai Mech 2 and GodHusk. We see that GodHusk is a ruined future set in what one could surmise is space, or at least a planet, manufactured or not. In Samurai Mech 2, the setting is a floating space city, Oedo, with islands of Japan existing in space. Funnily enough, the name Oedo pops up in a personal favorite anime of mine called Cyber City Oedo 808, which has one of the greatest English dubs known to mankind. I can't play any of it here, but that's why it's so good, so check it out if you can. With the name Oedo, I'm also curious if Oedo is a variation of Edo, like New Edo, like you might have New York, whether it's for the city of Edo or the Edo period. During the 18th century, Edo was potentially the biggest city in the world at the time, so it feels very cyberpunk to machine retro-futuristic to have a huge historical castle city from Japan and have it exist in space with mech technology. Japanese inspiration, of course, is also already present in GodHusk, as we discussed in a previous video with depictions of NPCs such as Sage V2, bearing a striking similarity to monks and Buddhists. It's worth noting that Samurai Mech 1, the premise is Japan had found some fallen ancient civilization tech that was super advanced and thus allowed samurais to reach the stars and use mech tech to create robotic gear, weaponry, and the like. The catalyst of events being tech is a familiar feeling with GodHusk and this game, though I'd argue GodHusk is more about a world's reliance on it and then the degrading technology and the ruin thereafter when it isn't maintained or it is overused. Where the two share the most similarities is in the presentation of game mechanics and character designs. Though, of course, Plastibu's style and clear departure from the inspiration source is wholly unique and, at the very least, a homage, if anything. The designs of the monster enemy types were a highlight of the game as a series in Samurai Mech 2 Heaven, and much of the design and how they are displayed in-game have that distinct GodHusk feel. Yukihito Morikawa, the director and graphic designer of Samurai Mech 2, said in an interview found on samuraimech.net that he, quote, was happy just to be able to draw monsters, so designing the enemies was fun. I was restricted to having them do sword fighting, so there were some limitations, but other than that I was completely free, so I've never been able to design characters as freely as I wanted until now. However, the amount of work was enormous. And that was clear by the sheer amount of artwork in this game. That passion and freedom is evident in the monster design. The strange mech robots going to warped Oni with cybernetic enhancements. The fusion of tech to Japanese myth and history was clear and reveled. In terms of GodHusk enemy and character design, I feel one of the most direct interpretations or inspirations of Samurai Mech's aesthetics is found within its arguable final boss, that of the withered colossus housing the innocent at the end of GodHusk. His gargantuan, multi-level body with laser cannon mouth and phases are clearly influenced by the King of Heavenly Fantasy, or King Heaven as I'll name him for short. King Heaven is a gigantic crimson mech samurai with 3 legs, each with a potential weapon inside, and teeth-like protrusions, who swings his massive blade towards you. At the beginning of the fight, the player is in fact faced with a half-torn robotic person named Tianyi Fang, I think, seemingly being used as a weapon, most likely against their will by the larger giant samurai, which is sort of a very GodHusk element thing as well. Upon his defeat, you must then face King Heaven, slashing away at his armor. As overtime damage shows, you are closer to defeating him. Kind of like different phases. Mechanically, this game seems to use a very cool system, almost like, I guess, Fallout's VATS or Fear and Hunger kind of attack style, where choosing where to strike, limbs or areas is key to the fight, while the fights themselves are pseudo-animated using key comic panel style action shots, which is really cool and really shows off the character designs. King Heaven feels like the core inspiration for what the innocent prosthetic body would become, and it's super cool to see Plastaboo's darker, more rust-driven take on a boss like that. Visual inspirations for the game's mechanics of GodHusk are clear to see in Samurai Mech 2 as well, speaking of UI screens and item displays in particular. Some of these item screens have so much incredible detail while still having the simple core Edo period look. The HUD display and frames scream GodHusk, thinking back to NPCs like the Oracle and their items for sale with retro greens in place of Samurai Mech's bright blues. The use of symbols scattered around the frame also feels very similar to the symbols used to denote different items and words within GodHusk. The weapons are no less impressive, and some of the designs, in particular the ranged weapons, feel so much like the arm vessel parts you find throughout all the zones. Some of the mechanics themselves of the imagined game of GodHusk also bear striking resemblance to the ones present in Samurai Mech 2 Heaven, though I think GodHusk maybe has the preferred ones for me. Most notable comparisons I can see are the consumption of mega chips to mem units, though functionally they are very unique and different. It was just more the use of chips and units as payment for use of weapons or to pay for things with people felt very similar. The limb switch of GodHusk feels inspired by the limb targeting of SM2, and at certain points it appears both enemies and the players are able to get floating orbs that aid you, and it feels very much like a more basic version of the Mopos in GodHusk, which you can find and follow you around with different special abilities or attacks. I just want to pause for a moment and make it clear that I'm not suggesting any type of plagiarism or theft by Plastaboo here of things. This video is just meant to look into something that inspired an artist that we all really like. The fact that Plastaboo even found this game, let alone saw or played enough to be able to draw inspiration from it, is impressive enough in of itself, in my humble opinion. But I just wanted to set the record straight as we come to a close with this video. A fun fact I thought you guys might also like to know is that the system designer for Samurai Mech 1 and 2, I think Akihiko Miura, who also worked on Mother 2, which was the cool thing, which is really cool because that game has also done massive things for the gaming community at large, but also game lore books as a clear inspiration for things like Apple Quest Monsters, which is really cool, and also present within Eyepatch Wolf's latest lore book kind of book. Looking back at GodHusk, but also back at older games from the dawn of the 90s, it's been really nice to see that art as a whole is, in my opinion, my hopeful opinion, more often than not appreciated by people who really care and really enjoy interacting and engaging with that art and people who made it. I know that sounds obvious, but in the AI slop apocalypse of 2025, It has really solidified for me what it is that's cool about art made by people, and that you can see a piece of art, then find that person who made it and see who they like and what they made and what inspired them. You get to travel this timeline of appreciation and inspiration, and you get to be excited about something you didn't know, but also reaffirm that the artist, who's in ways just like you, has tastes that you share, and they can help guide you to more cool shit. Because we all like cool shit. Researching for this video has been a low-key technical nightmare, but ultimately really nice. GodHusk is something very dear to me, but also something that'll help others create even wilder worlds or stories than what can be contained within the humble nest of L609. I know this video hasn't really been a lore video, and I want to let you guys know that I realize I haven't been doing many of those lately. The once a week thing has been hard to keep up, if I'm being honest, but I will be getting back into deep dive lore videos soon, which is partially why I made this video. Lately, I've just been really enjoying seeing and speaking with artists, to be honest. Artists being unapologetically unique and wild, and treating things like games as a medium to respect and build upon as art, which they are. So it's been really cool to revisit GodHusk, read it again, and then see what came before it. And as I'm sure we've all seen with what's been coming out of HoloPress, it's super exciting to see what awaits us, particularly in November, if any of you have been seeing my posts. But anyway, I've been Haunted Picnic, and I'll see you guys next time.